Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The rain dropped in thin, unrelenting needles over the small cemetery on the outskirts of San Isidro, a town torn between the mountains and the sea. Around the open tomb, black umbrellas formed mushroom-like clusters. Luna Valeria Castro, a 29-year-old photographer who had spent the previous 5 years chasing light across countries, had lost her light forever. Her mother stood closest to the coffin, stiff under a coat 2 sizes too big, as if grief had emptied her out overnight. Friends mumbled the usual words, "Too young, what a waste, and who would do this?" The priest's voice droned through the rain, Latin syllables pummeled by the wind. Almost no one noticed the man standing in the back, out of reach of the umbrellas. He wore a poor navy raincoat, collar up, hands deep in the pockets. His shoes were polished, but cracked at the seams, the type of shoes that were once expensive, but were now embarrassed by themselves. When the coffin began its gradual drop, he took one step forward after another, until he was level with the last row of mourners. He spoke clearly and even nicely, as if introducing himself at a party he hadn't been invited to. "I was paid to kill her." One umbrella tipped. Someone gave a gasp. The priest faltered in the middle of his sentence. Luna's mother turned first, slowly, like a statue rediscovering that it could move. The man met her gaze, without blinking. 50,000 American dollars, he said, his voice firm. Half up front, and half when it was finished. "I stabbed her 4 times in the stairs of the Edificio Colón on Tuesday night at 11:43. She never yelled, 'I'm sorry for your loss.'" He then took a step back, turned, and strolled away between the headstones with the calm of a late guest leaving a poor supper. By the time the mourners realized what they had heard, he had already beyond the wrought iron gate. 2 cousins rushed after him, sliding on the wet grass and shouting threats that faded into the rain. They discovered only vehicle tracks on the gravel service road, and a solitary black button lying in a puddle, as if the man had vanished and left only a small bit of himself behind. That's how the mystery started. 20 minutes later, the cops arrived, their lights flashing red and blue through the mist. Detective Inspector Ana Morales stepped out of the unmarked limousine with the tired expression of someone who had witnessed far too many funerals turned into crime scenes. She was 36, divorced, allergic to cats, and the only officer in the province who still hand-wrote her notes because she didn't believe anything that could be erased with a single keyboard. She recorded testimony beneath a leaky mausoleum ceiling, the coffin still half-lowered, hovering between worlds like a broken promise. Nobody could describe the man in the same way twice. Some consider themselves tall, while others consider themselves to be ordinary. The hair is dark, either brown or black. A scar on the left cheek, or on the right. Accent neutral, almost intentionally so, as if someone had studied speaking nowhere in particular. Only 2 aspects remained consistent, the shoddy raincoat and the complete lack of terror in his eyes when confessing. Ana crouched beside the puddle and grabbed the button with her gloved finger. Mother of pearl, with 4 holes, was previously valuable. She slid it into an evidence bag and felt the first tingling of something instinctive rather than procedural. People who kill for money do not go to funerals. People who kill for money do not inform the mourning family. This man wished to be remembered. The question was why? Back at the station, the autopsy report sat on her desk like an uninvited guest. Luna was killed with a thin, double-edged weapon, most likely a stiletto, plunged upward beneath the chest, followed by 3 fast stabs to the belly. Death would have occurred quickly. There were slight marks on her wrists from a few days before, as if someone had grasped her hard and let go. Defensive wounds? None. She had not fought. She either knew her killer or was too surprised to react. Toxicology revealed no alcohol or narcotics, with only traces of diazepam taken at least 12 hours before, most likely for anxiety. The police discovered a roll of undeveloped film in her coat pocket, along with a receipt from a camera shop dated the day she died. Ana pinned the button to the corkboard above her desk and stared at it for quite a while. Luna's life, once reassembled, seems almost too bright to be genuine. She was born in San Isidro to a schoolteacher mother and a father who disappeared when she was 7 years old. At the age of 19, she obtained a scholarship to study photography in Paris. Her debut book, Light on Water, sold modestly but received glowing reviews. The second, Children of the Disappeared, which documented families still looking for victims of the former dictatorship, earned her both fame and enmity. She went home 6 months ago, claiming she was bored of airports. Friends claimed she appeared lighter, even euphoric. Someone told Anna she had fallen in love, but they wouldn't reveal with whom. Love, Anna mumbled into the empty room. Always love or money. She began with money. Luna's bank accounts were healthy but not extravagant. No huge deposits or quick withdrawals. Her mother said there had been no debts or threats. The gallery that represented her was perplexed. Luna had been negotiating a large retrospective, the type of show that would have made everyone wealthy. Whoever paid $50,000 to kill her did not do it for financial gain. That left love, or something similar enough to mislead the heart. The film from Luna's pocket was processed the following day. 36 exposures. The first 20 depicted abandoned buildings around the old port, stunning in their disrepair. The final 16 were unique, blurry shots taken with a long lens through windows. A man and a lady are in a hotel room. The man was in his late 50s and distinguished, with silver temples. The woman's name was Luna. They were laughing, touching, and getting undressed. The final shot showed the man from behind, naked, standing at the window, gazing out at the sea. On his left shoulder blade was a tattoo of a little black crescent moon pierced by a dagger. Anna felt the room tilt slightly. Years ago, she had seen the tattoo on the arm of a politician who had resigned in disgrace due to a bribery scandal. Except it had not been the arm. It had been the back. The man in the images was Emilio Galvan, Minister of Infrastructure, married, Catholic, grandpa of 3 and frontrunner in next year's presidential race. She closed the darkroom door and leaned against it, realizing why someone would pay to quiet a photographer. However, comprehension was not proof, and proof was not synonymous with confession. None of it explains the man at the funeral. Anna went to prison the following Monday, carrying the button in her pocket like a talisman. She had spent the weekend researching every hired murderer known to work in the country. None of them matched the sketchy descriptions. She had obtained traffic camera footage from the cemetery road, which showed a gray 1998 Toyota Corolla with plates removed that had driven away before the cousins arrived at the gate. She had interviewed Luna's lover. Galvan's bodyguards had stonewalled her until she threatened to release the images to the media, at which time the minister agreed to a quiet meeting in a convent garden at dawn. He had grieved, real tears, and claimed he had nothing to do with her death. He had loved her, he admitted. She had adored him. They planned to leave everything behind after the election. He had an alibi. He had supper with the archbishop till midnight, then returned home to his wife. All confirmed, doormen, security cameras, and the archbishop himself. Anna believed him. Men like Galvan annihilated women in slower, cleaner ways. This led her to the prison and the man who had previously been the most feared sicario in the northern provinces, El Cuervo, the Raven, who was 52 years old and serving 3 life sentences for crimes he no longer denied. El Cuervo had a scar from his left ear to the corner of his lips, a reminder of a work in Culiacan. He was also known for his honesty, as weird as that may sound. You might buy his silence but not his falsehoods. She sat across from him in the visiting room. He studied her in the same way a butcher observes meat. "You're here about the girl at the funeral," he began before she spoke. Anna placed the button on the table. El Cuervo looked at it and smiled using the part of his face that was still functional. "Pretty," he replied. "My mother had a coat with such buttons. She was buried in it." A person wearing this button admitted to killing Luna Castro 3 days ago, in front of 50 witnesses. Then he vanished. El Cuervo leaned back. "And you think I sent him? I believe you know who did." He pondered this. Outside the reinforced glass, a guard yawned. "There's a new player," he announced finally. "He calls himself El Fantasma. The ghost. Nobody has seen his face. Nobody knows his name. He takes on contracts that no one else will, including politicians, journalists, and clergymen. Charges twice and delivers clean. What kind of calling card do they say he leaves? This is a confession. Always public. Always to the family. El Cuervo's good eye beamed. He wants people to understand it was business, not personal. Removes the sin from their souls, or something like that. Anna felt the hair on her arms raise. Are you saying he is a moral assassin? I'm calling him a madman with principles. There's a difference. She exited the prison with a name that wasn't a name and the impression that she was chasing smoke. Weeks have passed. The case overwhelmed her. She slept in her office, ate from street carts, and ignored her ex-husband's calls about overdue alimony payments. The killer was referred to as El Confisor in the newspapers. Editors debated whether he was a monster or a messenger. Galvin withdrew from the presidential run for family concerns. Luna's mother had stopped answering the door. Then, one night when the moon was a thin blade in the sky, Anna received a call from an unknown number. Detective Morales, the voice stated. It was peaceful, educational, and almost gentle. You have questions. She grabbed the phone so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Who is this? You already know. Meet me tomorrow. Midnight. The roof of Edificio Colón. Come alone. The connection went dead. She left, of course. She left her service weapon in the car and rode the rattling service elevator to the top level before climbing the final flight of stairs to the roof. The city sprawled underneath her like a circuit board, all neon and blackness. Rain had threatened all day but stayed away. The air tasted metallic. He waited at the parapet, wearing the same navy raincoat. Up close, he was younger than she thought, possibly 35, with a face that would be forgotten 5 minutes later. Only the eyes were memorable, pale gray, and nearly colorless. You came, he replied. You killed Luna Castro. I did. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a little recorder. He pushed play. Luna's shaky but clear voice echoed across the night. If anything happens to me, it is because I know what they did in 1992. Children at the orphanage. Those who disappeared. I have proof. Emilio was present, although he was not the worst. There were others. Higher. They'll kill me over it. But I'll send everything to 3 newspapers the day after tomorrow. Tell my mother that I love her. The recording finished. He put away the recorder. She lied about the newspaper. She planned to face them discreetly. Give them an opportunity to confess. She believed in redemption. He nearly grinned. I was hired to make sure she never had the chance. That is not part of the contract, Anna said, taking a step closer. You could have vanished. Instead, you disclosed it during her funeral. Why? He gazed out over the city. Because someone has to shoulder the load. The families deserve to know it wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't about passion. It was policy. He turned to face her. You will never know who ordered it. They are excessively high. But you can catch me. That was plenty. He grabbed into his coat again. Anna stiffened, but all he produced was a big package. Everything Luna collected. Names, dates, and bank transfers. The orphanage served as a laundering enterprise. The children were collateral. Several were sold. Some just vanished. She accepted the packet. It was heavy. Why give it to me? Because you still think the system can be shaken into awakening. I no longer do. He went on to the cliff. Tell her mother I apologize for taking her daughter's voice. I assumed silence was cleaner. Wait. He spread his arms like a diver. The navy raincoat billowed once, like a dark sail, and he was gone. She ran to the edge, but all she saw was blackness. No shout, no impact. When the uniformed officers arrived minutes later, they discovered no body, only a single black button spinning slowly on the concrete, reflecting the moonlight like a little mirror. Anna stood there till daybreak, holding the envelope to her bosom and listening to the city breathe underneath her. Somewhere inside, powerful men were already rewriting history. Somewhere, Luna's mother awoke to another morning without her kid. She picked up the button. It felt warm from his hand. Later, when the newspapers exploded with disclosures about the orphanage and resignations turned into arrests, many referred to El Fantasma as a fable, a ghost story for the guilty. Anna never corrected them. She kept the two buttons in a tiny wooden box on her desk, one from the graveyard and one from the roof, and would open it occasionally when the office was vacant to listen for footsteps that never came. She never discovered his body. She never knew his true name. But on nights when the moon was sharp enough to cut, she could almost feel him standing behind her, patient and unrepentant, waiting for the next confession that only he could make. And in the silence, she realized the final, dreadful truth. He hadn't fallen. He had merely stepped into the next shade, his coat flaring like broken wings, carrying Luna's last image of light with him till darkness paid its due in full. The rain hadn't stopped since daybreak, and by the time people gathered outside St. Seraphim Memorial Park's gates, the earth had softened beneath their shoes. Umbrellas opened like wounded flowers throughout the cemetery, and the sky was low enough to press against the mourners' shoulders. Luna Marquez's coffin, a polished mahogany piece, selected by her sister, was carefully placed on the metal-lowering frame. Even the morticians walked slowly, as if sound itself had to respect the solemnity designated for someone whose death had been too quick, brutal, and incomprehensible. Luna has long been considered by her friends as a beacon of light in human form. She was a painter, a teacher, and someone who remembered birthdays with handwritten notes, so her absence felt significant. The circumstances of her death, released in parts by officers who should not have talked at all, had already caused anxiety in the city. She had been discovered in an alley behind the Community Arts Center, stabbed once in the abdomen and once in the shoulder, as if the offender had planned no struggle, simply death. There are no traces of robbery. There is no evident motive. The police stated that they were continuing their investigation, which has become a local euphemism for an unresolved tragedy. The funeral was meant to be a moment of closure, or at least an effort at it. However, even before the priest completed Bless the Grave, a ruckus erupted in the back of the throng. At first, there was only a faint ripple, a murmur, as people turned to see who had arrived so late in service. The man was completely soaked, with his dark hair matted across his forehead. His appearance was unkempt, garments torn at the collar, mud-splattered shoes, and shaking hands. He carried no umbrella, no flowers, and no sign of respect. His gaze flashed across the assembly until it settled on the coffin. Then, as if drawn by an unseen thread, he started walking toward it. A few heads turned. Someone gasped quietly. Marisol, Luna's sister, took an involuntary step closer to the casket, her breathing shallow. The man paused barely a few feet away and cleared his throat, looking uneasy. I need to say something, he mumbled, his voice barely above the rain. Several mourners exchanged harsh glances, unsure whether to intervene or listen. Father Tomas attempted to approach him softly. "Sir, this is a private. They hired me," the man said, louder this time. "I was hired to stab her." The words pierced the air like lightning. Silence ensued, not the solemn calm of ceremony, but a stunned immobility. Marisol's face had lost its color. A few people automatically stepped backward. The only sound was the constant drumbeat of rain. Father Tomas raised a hand, imploring the others to be calm. "Sir," he cautioned, "you can't simply—" "I didn't do it," the man maintained, shaking his head furiously. "I swear I didn't. I could not. I attempted to walk away. But they're following me now, too." His breath raced as he grabbed his jacket pocket, possibly looking for proof or stability. Detective Helena Navarro, who had come to the funeral out of respect and obligation, moved forward through the crowd. The police had declared no suspects, no individuals of interest, and certainly no evidence that a hired killer had been involved. She was expecting a simple ceremony. She hadn't expected this. "Sir, my name is Detective Navarro," she said, her tone firm. "I need you to put your hands where I can see them." He complied immediately, palms open and trembling. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he said. "I am not here to finish anything. I'm here because I can't keep fleeing. Who am I running from? Navarro inquired. The ones who hired me, he said. Marisol gulped back a sob and stumbled, bracing herself against the arm of an ant. A few others pushed the detective to remove the man right away, but Helena remained silent as she led him away from the grave, out of earshot of the family, but still within sight of officers who had begun to advance. When they reached the shadow of a neighboring mausoleum, the man fell to his knees. Rainwater pooled around him. He scrubbed his face with shaky fingers, leaving dirt streaks on his cheekbones.